All right, guys, happy Thursday. Today we're going to read Shadows at Jamestown. I think we're going to do 2 chapters today. Chapter 22 is where I'm going to start. So it says, Caitlin pedaled quickly up the road, keeping a lookout for Grace as she crossed the bridge onto Jamestown Island. The rain had ended, but thick clouds still filled the sky, making the early evening seem darker than usual. She slowed as she approached the sign for the glass house, laying her bike under some bushes off the road. Tourist hours were over, so the island was mostly deserted aside from a few staff. But no one seemed to be out near the glass house. She peered through the trees and saw a lone car in the parking lot. It was Grace's. Caitlin jogged cautiously up the trail. She needed to get closer to see what Grace was up to. She hadn't planned what she would do when she got there, but they had to have proof if Grace was the one stealing the artifacts. The fate of the Jamestown Rediscovery Project might depend on it. She thought about why Grace would do such a thing. Her mom said you really never know someone until you've walked a mile in their shoes, which she assumed meant you had to see something from another person's point of view. You guys remember what that means? You have to empathize with somebody. Sure, she'd heard Grace's comment about her student loans. Maybe needing money really could motivate someone to commit a crime. As she neared the glass house, Caitlin paused behind an informational sign on wooden posts and listened. The glass house was closed and all was quiet. She stepped forward into the open, watching for movement. "Stop right there!" Caitlin froze. She turned slowly to see Grace standing behind her. She must have been hiding in the trees as Caitlin approached. "Oh, hi, Grace," Caitlin said, trying to act normal. "What are you doing here?" "I was just about to ask you the same thing." Caitlin's mind flashed back to Jerry holding a revolver on them in the White House. Grace didn't seem overly menacing. In fact, she seemed more nervous than anything. Caitlin tried to think of a reasonable excuse. "I was just meeting Sam and Derek at the glass house. We wanted to buy our parents' gifts from the shop inside. Since we're leaving in the morning, we thought we'd better do it tonight." She attempted a weak smile, hoping that Grace believed her. Grace nodded like she was going for it. "It's closed already. Sorry." "Oh, okay. Well, I can go back and wait for the boys by the road." Caitlin turned to step back up the trail. Spying on Grace was one thing, but she didn't want to be stuck without any backup. She hoped the boys had received her message. "Hang on," said Grace, moving closer. "Are you following me?" "What?" "I said, are you following me? Were you in the bathroom at the museum?" Uh-oh. "Me?" Caitlin stuttered. "No, I told you I was just..." Grace closed her eyes. "You were! I knew I heard something." She let out a long sigh. "What are you doing here, Caitlin? You don't need to be in the middle of this." Caitlin's heart was racing again. She had to find out more information. "In the middle of what?" Grace just glanced at her watch nervously. "Why would you do it, Grace?" Caitlin finally blurted out, unable to hold back any longer. "I thought you loved archaeology. How could you ruin everything for the professor, for Jamestown?" She couldn't decide if she felt like screaming or crying, but it was hard to hold back her emotions. Grace looked confused. "Wait a minute, Caitlin. What are you talking about?" "The artifacts. Why are you stealing them? They're priceless parts of our history." Grace's mouth opened wide in surprise. "You think I'm stealing the artifacts?" She seemed to put together what Caitlin was saying all at once. "That I'm behind the problems with Smithsonian?" Caitlin frowned. "You're not?" Grace put her hand to her forehead with a pained look. "No, Caitlin, I'm not. I promise you that." Caitlin's head was spinning. "Then what are you doing here?" All right, I'm going to stop that for now. Why don't you do the activity and then come back to read chapter 22.